guys, Fabio Bonanno. Just a quick video on macros and how to calculate your daily totals for calories, and also different macro ratios for different body types. So firstly, you want to get a guideline for your calculations. So you want to find whatever formula you can. There's a few out there. I personally use the Harris-Benedict formula, so I'll put that in the description below for you guys to calculate that, and from there you've got to make your calculations. So without overcomplicating things, I'll get into this video. I'll give you some guidelines, some figures, and at the end of the day you take it from there, you assess and reassess. So the problem with guidelines and figures and calculations is that that's all they are, they're guidelines. Until you step in the scales, then you don't know if they're working or they're not working. So firstly, you've got to determine your daily caloric expenditure, so whether it's maintenance, gaining or fat loss. You want to find out your maintenance firstly. I use personally the Harris-Benedict formula, so that's below. Type in the numbers, it'll give you a figure. After that, that calculates what's called your BMR. BMR is your base metabolic rate. So from there, whether you're gaining or maintaining or losing, then you take away a number and you're left with your total calories, which is a guideline figure for you to hit. So let's just say you're maintaining on 3000. If you want to gain some muscle, I would add 10%. So add 300 calories. If you want to lose fat, then I would take away 10%. And you can take away more, but then you've got the risk of slowing down your metabolism. So I always advise try and give yourself the longest time possible when you're trying to diet. So don't try and do an 8-week diet to lose 8 kilos. Yes, it's doable, but if you can lose 8 kilos in 16 weeks, then metabolically you'll be a lot healthier. You should be able to eat more, your energy level should be higher, and generally just be a lot more enjoyable experience, or less damaging, let's say. So you figured out what your daily targets are, whether you're gaining plus 10%. Again, you could be a little bit more generous, just you've got to step on the scales. If you've done the calculations, step on the scales in the morning after urinating and just in your underwear. So these are going to eliminate as many variables as possible. The circumstances are pretty much going to be the same every single time. You don't have food in your stomach, your bladder's empty, and that is going to have your consistent base. And with sodium intake, daily water intakes, cortisol levels, stress levels, how much sleep you've got, your weight is going to fluctuate, so don't worry about it. It's a weekly average. Look, if you're trying to lose weight, then it might go up and down in peaks and troughs, but look at the weekly average and hopefully it's going down. If it's not, you've got to reassess. So test, don't guess, don't step on the scales, or don't just assume that this magic calculation is working. Step in the scales, see if it is working. So let's go on to different body types. We are all different. As I said, a calculation is a guideline, so there's no point in sitting and expecting it to work perfectly. Step on the scales. People use carbohydrates differently, proteins differently, fats differently. You've got 3 different body types. You've got an endomorph. So an endomorph is slightly heavier. They hold more weight in the abs, the belly, the gut. They tend to put on fat quite easily. So their percentages are going to be different from a mesomorph and an ectomorph. Both are different. So a mesomorph is triangular shape, quite muscular. They neither gain muscle easily or lose fat easily. They are in the middle. And finally, your ectomorph, which are your typically fast metabolism type of body, skinny, really struggle to put on weight. So there's different figures for macronutrients for each of these. So let's break it down. You figured out your calorie intake. Go from there. Protein, carbohydrate, both have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9 calories per gram. So figure out the calorie percentages from the numbers I'm just about to give you and input your grams for your macronutrients and your daily intake. So if you are an endomorph, so you're heavier, you put on fat quite easily, then carbohydrates will tend to be your enemy. So I'm not saying be scared of carbohydrates, most people are, because they can really help your metabolism, but with endomorphs we tend to stay on the lower end. So let's aim for 25% carbohydrates, so take out 25% calorie wise of whatever figure you are, if you're gaining, losing fat or maintaining. If you're an endomorph, divide that by 4 and that gives you the number of grams of carbohydrates. Protein, you're looking for 35%, and again 35% of whatever your calculation is for your calories, divide that by 4, that will give you the number of grams of protein. Fats is 40%. So again, I'll put a link in the description box, but calories, take away 40% of that, divide that by 9, that gives you the grams of fat. So I'm going to move on to mesomorph. Hopefully you've got the idea of grams of protein, carbs and fats and the calories that they give you. So the mesomorph, so typically neither hard gainer or easy gainer, they're right in the middle. So they are a bit more moderate carbohydrates, so I would aim for a 40% carbohydrate split. So 40% of your carbohydrates are going to come from 40% of your calories, are going to come from carbohydrates, 30% protein and 30% fats. So do the calculations the same as like I've just described. And then your ectomorphs, so they've got really fast metabolism, they tend to eat a lot more food and they never put on weight, so they need more carbohydrates. I would aim for 55%, as high as that, carbohydrates, 25% protein and 20% fats, and that's you. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an insight, but as I said, never guess. It's never you should never guess. If you want results, then you've got to measure. So step on the scales every morning. If you're trying to gain weight and you've done the calculations and you're not gaining weight, then add more carbohydrates, add more calories, but you can keep the ratios the same. So if you're going, let's just say we've maintained 3,300 calories on our gaining phase, we're not gaining any more weight, let's go to 3,400 calories. Depending on whether you're willing to sacrifice a bit of body fat, which you should be if you're gaining, then that depends on the rate. I would personally just add 100 calories every few days, depending on how much the scale is telling you. If you want, add some more, and just go at your own pace, but be patient in this game. You're in it for the long haul, so please just be patient. Spend time calculating your macros, put in the work in the weights room, and hopefully you get the results with body composition. So hope that helps. Hopefully I haven't rambled too much, and if you've got any questions about this, nutrition is obviously a highly detailed subject. There's a lot of conflicting advice. Stick to the basics. The basics worked. They worked for bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts back in the past. They still work today. No need to overcomplicate it. Eat healthy, be consistent. Life is going to get in the way, so just do what you can, when you can, as often as you can. If you've got any more questions, find me Fabio Bonanno Fitness on Facebook, Abs by Fabs on Twitter, or check out my website, fabiobonanno.com. Please subscribe if you found this useful, share the video, and until next time, if you've got any questions, give me a shout. Thanks very much.